All right, today I'm going to show you how I approach the drawing of the mouth. And one of the biggest things when we draw mouths in art class, people freak out about teeth. I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, like as they're drawing their self-portrait, I wish I didn't smile because I don't want to draw my teeth. Sorry, thirsty. The good news is that when you draw teeth, there's really nothing to draw. You're not drawing anything. Actually, it's kind of fun the way it happens. Once you know how to do it, it's like you draw and then all of a sudden the teeth just show up to the party. Like you won't actually draw. Like the biggest mistake people do is they draw, let's see, here's a scrap piece of paper. They draw like the mouth, and then they have the open mouth, and they draw that, and then they do this. Like it looks like a mouth full of chiclets. That's not what you want to do. Don't do that. So today I'm going to show you what I think about when I draw a mouth, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So the first thing, you notice that I've got a cylinder up here. I drew this cylinder so that the light source is kind of coming in this way, like almost towards the front, the light source is. So when I draw a mouth, I'm thinking about two cylinders that look like this, two cylinders that are stacked one atop the other, so that as I draw, once things become kind of confusing or something like that, like if I'm not sure what to do, I'm thinking about this and where I would be on something this basic. So take this and turn it sideways, and that's essentially how I'm going to shade my lips. Now there's a little bit more form, a little bit more complexity to the form, but for the most part, lips are just this, but multiplied 2 times. So step 1, and clean my paper. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and then I'm going to put a vertical line. And that's going to be my reference point. So not necessarily the line of my top lip, but that's going to help me shape my top lip. So I'll show you actually real quick. On my computer screen, I have a mouth that I'm going to use as a reference picture. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to specifically draw that mouth. I'm going to draw just whatever mouth I draw, but I'm going to use that picture as a reference to kind of look up and check and make sure that everything that I'm drawing is, make sure that I'm not missing anything, basically. So in this drawing with this, so I've got this basically like a really wide, really long lowercase t. I'm going to shape my top lip first, and with the top lip, the top lip kind of comes down and then up. So it follows this kind of line. Use this scrap paper again. So I'll put that in. So the top lip is going to kind of do this. Maybe not so exaggerated, but that's the kind of curve that I'm looking for. So I'm going to start my mouth, and now that dark line that I just drew really dulled my pencil. So I want a sharp point for this because I'm drawing really lightly, and I want it precise. I want it sharp. So I'm going to draw that. I want to come up and come down. There we go. And now at the top, I'm going to put what's called the Cupid's bow. So it's a little V. So I'll do it over here darker. So it's going to be like that. And then that top lip is going to, it actually looks like the whole top of the lip almost looks like a bow and arrow. Right? But I'm not going to make it such a pronounced V. I'm going to kind of curve it. And then I'm going to come down like that. There we go. Now I'm going to put a little line for a reference for how much I want the mouth to be open. And then my bottom lip, so the distance between here and here and here and here seems about equal. So my bottom lip, I want to make that bigger, noticeably bigger than the top lip. Your bottom lip is going to be larger than your top lip. Your bottom lip is always bigger. And I'm going to try to keep these as even as possible. And there we go. Now I'm going to finish up. And that's the shape of my mouth. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to erase those middle lines that I put. Because now that my mouth is drawn, I don't need them anymore. And now I'm going to put the highlights. I'm going to mark my highlights, and I'm going to have a highlight like right here. Probably another little one right there. And then I'm also going to have a pretty bright highlight right down here. So I don't know if you can see that. I'll draw so that's where one highlight is. The other highlight I'm going to put there, and then I'm going to put a little highlight there. So that's essentially where my highlights are going to go. And that's what I have drawn here. I've just got it drawn much lighter. So now that I've marked my highlights, an important thing that I want to keep in mind is making sure that I keep the texture of the lips. So the lips, skin around the lips is smooth, but the lips themselves are going to have a rough, wrinkly, you're going to see those lines of the creases of the lips. So I'm going to start, actually the first thing I'm going to do, this is really frustrating. If you drop your ebony pencil, like that's why you don't want to drop your ebony pencil a lot, because that happens. And then you got to draw with a teeny tiny little nub of a pencil. So hold on, let me sharpen this. I have a bigger one, but I might as well use this one up until it's gone. Here, let me hold it. Well, if I hold it close to the mic, is it like what do they call those? The ASMR videos, where you listen to people like. So it happened again. Doink. Bummer. Oh well, I'm gonna put it back in there. I'll use it. And I'll use it till I can't use it anymore. So I'm gonna follow the contour of the lips. And under here, I'm gonna make this very, very dark. Because again, this is gonna be, if that's my cylinder, that part's gonna be in shadow. And for this, like, I'm envisioning that the light source is coming more from the left than it is the right. So this right side of the mouth, I'm going to make intentionally a little bit darker. And I'm going to skip that little area that I've marked for the highlight. And completely avoid it. I mean, it's really hard drawing with that pencil. Sometimes if you're in a pinch, you just got to do what you got to do. There we go. Yeah, I'm switching. Into the garbage. It's always a little sad when I get to throw one of those guys away. I don't know why. And then in the corners of the mouth too. This is going to get darker. So I want this right now. I'm doing everything I can to make this look like a cylinder. And now I'm going to go through. Actually, I'll do it with my number 2 pencil first. And I'll add some lines this way to create the texture of those. And sometimes those wrinkles go all the way across the surface of the lips. Sometimes they only go a little bit. Sometimes they only go from the top down. Sometimes they only go from the bottom up. But again, sometimes they do go all the way. So I put in some, I use my number 2 pencil, and I'm going to go in and put fewer of them with my ebony pencil. Darken just a few of those spots in. There we go. And now I'm going to darken this a little bit. I'm going to get in here. Extend that bottom lip a little bit more. So the thing I'm not going to have in this drawing is, well, except for where I have that texture, I'm not going to have like outlining lines. I'm not going to have any contour lines. Okay. And then with this, I actually considered that inside here, like the top of this cylinder is very light, but I went much darker here because the top lip is going to block some of that light from hitting the top of this cylinder. So now let's put in the top lip. And it's going to be very dark. Again, right here in the corner. The corner gets kind of muddly. Muddly, is that a word? I don't think so. So again, kind of following the contour. And this is for sure going to be dark. And it's going to blend. Up. And then there's that highlight that I outlined very lightly earlier on in the drawing. And this is going to be in a little bit of shadow. And I'm going to lighten up on this side again, because if my light source is coming this way, that Cupid's bow part right here is going to be a little bit darker. It's going to lighten up, which is why I put that little highlight right there. And then it's going to darken up on the other side a little bit more. There we go. Then I'm going to finish the rest of that in the corner of that mouth there. And transition those values. Again, I think I talked about it before, where most people, when you're drawing, people, and even I'm going to tell you to follow the contour, and then you'll see me sometimes switch to circles, and that's because in graphic design classes, I would use art markers. And that's how we blended the art markers, so that they didn't, so that you didn't leave any scribbles. I'm going to darken this in a little bit. There we have it. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through and I'm going to add those textures. Now you notice that when I do these textures, I'm not just drawing straight lines. Like on the left side, they're curved. Actually, shoot, I curved them the wrong way. Darn it. Well, it should still read. Hopefully it does. Maybe I'll just do less of them. So now the fun part, the teeth. When I draw the teeth, so this is still I can still see a faint center line. So I'm going to draw, that's a front tooth. Then I'm going to come up a little bit, then the second tooth, which is a more round bottom tooth. The front tooth is like a chopping knife. This one's a little bit more round. And then the third tooth, I think your third tooth is your, like your eye tooth or your, and then they start to do that. When I draw a mouth that I'm just drawing, that I'm making up, I go 4 teeth. I go 4 teeth back. So on this side, there's the front tooth. And if your teeth are not straight, that's okay. If you've ever seen a picture of Tom Cruise's mouth, his teeth are crooked. So I'm going to round that one a little bit. And now what I'm not doing is putting that middle line. For this one, I'm going to come up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and here's the fourth one. There we go. And now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make those teeth gray. And then I'm going to blend them. And then I'm going to use my kneaded eraser to pick up some highlights there. I can actually go darker. You might be saying to yourself, what are you doing? You're gonna mess up your drawing. Nah. If I'm putting in highlights and I can't see them, that means the rest of it's got to go darker. So now I can see those highlights. And I'm going to hit this tooth with a highlight. Hit this one with a highlight. And I'm not going to do, tap a little bit there. And do the same thing over here. Hit that one with a highlight. Hit that one with a highlight. And maybe just tap on that one. And now, I'm just going to put a little bit of a gum line in. Just a bit. A little gum line, these little tiny triangles back here. There we go. And now I'm going to shade that tooth. I'm going to shade this tooth. And I'm going to shade this tooth. And I'm going to shade that tooth. Do the same over here. Shade, put a little bit of shading here. A little bit more shading here. A little bit more shading here. And now, just darken in the mouth. And the darker I make this, the lighter those teeth are going to look. And there you have it. And maybe I go through and maybe I'll blend that, try to get rid of some of that texture on the teeth. Go through, reintroduce those highlights. And there we go. And every time you sketch, date it. There you have it.